I am African and I do not hate African Americans. Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Zane, and on this channel I react to videos that interest me. So if that sounds like your thing, make sure you subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up because I already know you're going to enjoy it. So by the way, before we get started, I'd like to say thank you so much to all of you who have been subscribing to my channel and who have been watching my videos and liking my videos. I truly appreciate it. You guys are the best. Today I have another reaction video for you guys. I'm super excited about it. Well, I don't know if I should be excited about it, but I'm just curious to see what we're going to see in this video. Africans hate African Americans. Before we start, I would just like to say I am African and I do not hate African Americans.
Africans and African Americans always butt heads anyway. Yeah. That would be a perfect dynamic. So I went in there.
Why y'all hate us?
What do we Well, you're Nigerian now. You need to talk to them. Why do you hate Shannon on me? For what?
I do not hate Shannon and you. We don't hate African Americans. We don't. Like, I've never met a single person who hates African Americans. Like, you guys are not the enemy, okay? And even the real people who did the real stuff, like, I mean, hate is just too tedious, an emotion. Like, we don't waste our energy thinking of how much we hate the people who colonized us. You know what I mean? Like, it happened, okay? The people around now, anyway, aren't the people who did the colonization in the past. They are not the people. They might be descendants of them, but they are not the people. And we would not punish them or make them pay for the sins of their ancestors. Like, just like we would not want to be made to pay for the sins of our ancestors or anyone we're linked to in any way, shape, or form. So, like, I really don't know anyone who hates African Americans, and I just, it's strange to me when people keep saying stuff like this. We don't hate you guys.
No, why do we don't hate? That's some bullshit.
Nah, y'all do. Y'all be hating.
No, wait a minute.
Y'all make me hating.
But first of all, as me being raised here, I protect both. First of all, some Nigerians, they do sometimes, Africans in general, some of them do think they're better than African Americans, which is bullshit.
Right.
Because it's not the truth, because Africans are treated like shit in Africa. Colonization.
Yeah.
England, France, that's why you speak in French, not because you special.
Yeah.
Because they came and sat on your shit and said, you're going to speak what we speak.
Right.
The Dutch, all of them, Italian, all of those European countries came and colonized you, treated you like shit. I mean, you go to South Africa, white people are calling themselves Africans and they don't even look it. That's some gangster.
Oh my god. There's just so much going through my head right now. I don't know where to start. But that thing about the South Africa, I thought I was the only one who used to think like that, but clearly not. So, I mean, again, nobody's hating anybody, but still, I mean, that's the reality.
Don't you think? I am from South Africa. No, you're not. You're Dutch. You just didn't know when to leave. You see what I'm saying? It's fucked up. So that should tell you, and what African Americans have gone through, the hell that they've gone through and still go through. How are you coming from that mentality and saying you thinking you better than them? Because you have an accent? Because for some reason, the white society in America tends to, Africa, he has an accent. It's a little different. It's like when you're British, like Idris said, when you have a British accent and you're black. Hello, I don't know. That's what I'm doing. Ooh, that's why they get to play us. Listen, British black dudes are playing drug dealers. I thought Idris Elba was from Baltimore. I thought he was. You know, he was like, yo, you motherfuckers don't understand. And then I'm watching BBC. You know, when I did The Wire, I studied the ghetto in Baltimore. You sound like Lord Baltimore, motherfucker. What the fuck is that? And then this Driss guy, there's another Driss.
Yeah.
Snowfall.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this motherfucker's like, yo, cuz. And he's like, you know, I took a, you know, another, because I don't know what it is. Something about, this is just my theory, something about that black American accent. Hey, man. But hello. Oh. And we'll let Idris play that, but then when he gets back to his normal self, we get to hear James Bond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear that. There's something about that. I don't know. I think it's just a little weird. It's like African Americans go through hell, but everybody copies. African Americans. Right. Everybody does. I've been to a lot of countries. You've been to a lot of countries. I've been to a lot.
I've been to a lot of countries.
You haven't been to a lot of countries? You're so Southern. He's like, I've been to
a lot of states.
A lot of stuff. God damn. I go fishing over there. Yeah. So bad. And out here, my RV. Yeah. Like my grandma said, man, if you ain't got nothing to do, stay where you at. but listen, I'm saying when I've been to China, I actually performed. I was the first American to perform in Russia in 2018 in Moscow. And black shit is everywhere. Hip hop. There's Russian hip hop. I was in Lithuania. Went to a Lithuanian hip hop club. I was the only black dude there, and they were all grabbing their dick. But I'm like this. Hi guys. Hello. Hi. That's our culture. Yeah. China, everywhere is hip-hop. When I was in Japan, when I was in Korea, black people are copied. All that K-pop is just nothing but a new edition. It's all black shit everywhere. African-American, I think the African-American culture is the strongest culture on the planet, period. Because even Africans are going, yo, nigga, man, fuck all that shit, nigga. Really? You sound stupid, man. This nigga got a lot of nerve, man. I was just saying, no, man, nigga. Shut up. Out of here. Michael Blackson does it, but he around. Right. But there's people doing it. I see they got these reality shows, these African reality shows, and she's like, shit, that bitch, I know that bitch not talking to me like that. Well, really? What? They got Real Housewives of Africa. They got shit like that now. Nigeria got Nollywood and all. Hell, it's the third largest movie, but they're acting like they're taking from African American shit. Right. You know, a lot of them are taking it. Some people may not agree, but it's facts. And it's like, why are you shitting on African? Every African is not shitting on African American. That's bullshit. Right. But it's like, it doesn't make sense. Right. Because African Americans are, I mean, Africans are creative too, of course. Right. But African American, that culture is the coolest shit on the planet. Keep it 100. Hip hop, you know, just everything. Just damn, jazz, blues, everything. You create, African Americans created all of American music. It's all black. Right. Even country music, even though they complaining.
I would just like to say that many of us don't think, like we don't think about African Americans and their history and our history in relation to them. We don't. In Africa, the major primary exposure we have to African Americans is in Hollywood movies. They show African Americans as the gangsters, the thugs, the people who deal drugs, the people who kill people, the people who just do a lot of bad stuff. They are usually the ones in the ghettos, they are usually the ones in prison, they are usually the ones who dress badly and they say a lot of horrible things from their mouths and they use a lot of just profanities when they speak, etc, etc, etc. Now, I'm not saying I believe all those things. Please, I don't. I absolutely do not. But I'm saying that this is what they portray African Americans as in movies, in the media, and that is our primary exposure to them. It's kind of like the way they portray Africans and Africa in the media to people from other continents, as Africa is this whole jungle and the people there, the Africans, are like animals, like apes basically. I'm going to say it. I've seen a movie where they literally portrayed Africans as people who looked like monkeys. Like I saw it, like in a movie, and it didn't make any sense to me. And you know, it was even like the main actor was one of our favorite like Hollywood actors, the white guy. I still love the actor anyway, but that was the portrayal. So it's kind of like that, the way they portray Africans. So that people are people who do not have shoes, people who ride on elephants to schools, people who, you know, do not have running water, who do not have electricity, who do not have phones, who just cannot speak English, who cannot read, etc, etc. And a lot of people who are not really exposed in real life think that Africans literally are like that. It's kind of like that. So many of us think African Americans are the way they are portrayed in the media in real life. Just like we think that if you go to America, you're going to be seeing Beyonce on the street and you're going to be shaking hands with, like, I don't know, Ciara, and like that's what a lot of people think, just because of the way the way things are portrayed in Hollywood, right? And so many people, when they think of African Americans, that's what they think of. Just this, what I've listed. Again, all the stuff that I said are not things I believe. Absolutely, absolutely not. But that is the way many of us see them. And only people who think and who can rise above that, and who understand that reality isn't what is portrayed always in the media, and you just are aware of that fact, can and you know, have a sense of skepticism, those are the ones who can actually ask questions. And I'm saying this because one of my brothers, Rahimahullah, he used to always say, whenever we would watch a movie and we would see a black person, he would say, Zayn, just look, you're going to see that this black person is going to be the bad guy. And that would be what will happen. You'll be like, you'll see, just this black person is going to be the one who is a gang. And at one point I was like, why are you always saying this? Like, this sounds kind of racist. And I was like, no, it's not racist, it's what they do. Every time the black guy is always the one who gets killed. He's always the one who is in a shootout, some sort of shootout. He's always the drug dealer, he's always the gangster, he's always the one who ends up going to prison. Like, that's what they portray. And when I paid attention to it, I was like, yeah, this is really, like, this is true. This is true. And so because of that, I also started paying attention to it. And I remember one time I was reading a book, and that was exactly what happened. Like, it was one of this world is coming to an end kind of book. And you know, as things happen, when things happen like that and there's a lot of chaos, anarchy happens and people go crazy, and so you see gangsters and all of that coming out. And one of the people who were blocking the roads when the world came to an end in this book, the people who were blocking the roads, who were robbing people, these people were, guess who? The black people. The black people, even inside the book, even though there were other people, other races in the book that had been mentioned, and when things were going wrong, the author did not point out the race of those other people. But when it came to the gangsters who were waylaying people on the road, the author had to point out that they were actually African American. And I included in my review, I was like, this is something we have to pay attention to, because I had already become aware of it. I was like, this is something we have to pay attention to. Why is it that when the author mentioned other people doing other stuff, no one paid attention to the race? The author did not highlight the race of those people. But when it came to the gangsters, A, the author had to mention the race, and B, the race had to be African American. Why? Right? So it takes people who think and who are aware of these things to be able to just call attention to that fact and say, no, we cannot do this, no, we cannot do that. And you know, African Americans are not like that, and we should not portray them that way in movies or in books, right? So this is the way many people, I would say many Africans feel. Like, I'm not speaking for all Africans, obviously, but in my personal experience, this is way many Africans feel about African Americans. It's just what they see in the media, and some of the stuff is cool, right? Some of it, like the mannerisms, like you know, just sometimes the way people try to copy accents. He's right in the way they say they try to copy African Americans. They do, like, right? A lot of people do. Here in Nigeria and in many African countries, we are taught British English in school because they were the ones who colonized us. So we're taught British English. But when people start getting exposed to Hollywood movies and they watch those movies and they watch them, they start emulating that accent, and they start trying to speak like those people. And most times they end up, even if they're not trying to copy the African Americans, while they're trying to copy the American accent, they end up sounding like African Americans. So you will see a lot of like movie clips of like some Nigerian people or some African people who speak in a funny way. Like the example he was giving was like, yo man, my N-word, yo, like that's, and it was supposed to be funny, but in the movie, I don't think it was supposed to be funny in the movie, but that's just the way it came out sounding. That's just the primary way people think about them. It's not as if people think they are better than them. Absolutely not. Nobody, like, I don't know a single person who has that mentality. I don't know. Even the white people, when white people come here, we don't think we hate them. The only time I've actually seen people get just upset when it came to, like, white people being around was the fact that you could be, well, I was in a place, like I was at an establishment, let me not mention the place, and everyone was made to line up, everyone was made to stand outside, and there was some sort of protocol before we could go in because of the whole COVID thing. So there was some sort of protocol and people were just getting delayed, right, unnecessarily. And then this white guy came and he parked the car and he got to the door and the gate man let him in. Now people did not understand what was going on, and people just started complaining, and all of a sudden it was about to, like, a riot was about to happen, and people were like, what is the meaning of that? Like, they were saying it in Yoruba, like, what's the meaning of that rubbish? Like, we'll go to their country and they'll be treating us this way, and then they'll come to our country and they'll still be treating us like, what kind of rubbish is that, blah 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 blah. And so the manager had to come out and explain that the guy was going to a different office, not the establishment we were trying to go in, but it was like an office building, and he was going elsewhere. He was not going into where we were going, which was why they allowed him in. So the gate man was at the door, just controlling the traffic going into the office building in general. Also, everybody was like, okay, fine, right. That was like, it's only in situations like that that you see people getting riled up and then recalling that history. But other than that, nobody is wasting time hating. People are too busy for that kind of stuff. People are way too busy to be thinking about that kind of stuff. I don't know of any single African who looks down on African Americans or who hates African Americans. Now, there might be some sort of energy distortion when people meet, maybe, and I have my own theory on that. Accept it, don't accept it. The thing is, we don't really get taught about the history, the slave trade history, and how African Americans got where they got to and they became that, because I don't know why. I do not know why they don't teach us. I was never taught in school. Granted, I did not do history for long, but I did social studies and there was a bit of history there, and I did get, well, I did history for like one term because the school made it compulsory, but after that term I went on to the science track, and so I did not have to do history anymore. But you know, the people who were in other tracks were doing history, and so they had to teach them. Like, what are you going to say? You are going to teach people history for 3 years plus, and the slave trade will not be part of the history. Like, you can't do that. So they had to teach them. And so what I learned about the slave trade was just listening to my family members talk about it, like my brothers talk about it because of what they learned in school. My parents talk about it because of what, you know, they learned in school and what they learned from their parents. It's kind of like it's passed down. And because of that, many people who do not have a lot of that knowledge just discount it. They don't think about it. And even when you learn it in bits and pieces the way I do, sometimes if you don't sit down and actually try to piece together the whole story so that you can see as much as is possible, you might not actually appreciate just how horrific the situation was, that occurrence was. You might not appreciate it. I might just see it as one of those things. But you actually sit down and actually think that, oh my God, these people, they packed them together like this, and they put them in chains and they put them on boats, and sometimes they would throw them into the sea for sharks to eat because of whatever reason, and sometimes they were packed together so much that the disease spread, and that made them die in hundreds, and they were thrown into the sea just like that, like worse than animals, and they were made to work on the farms and they were not made to eat, and they were, you know, they poked holes in their lips and put padlocks in it so they wouldn't be able to steal out of the sugar cane or whatever. Like, if you don't sit down and you think about these things, you will not be able to appreciate just how egregious this was, how much of an offense to mankind, to humanity it was, right? And so because of that, people don't really think about it. Now, for those people who actually think about it and become aware, when I started thinking about it and when I became aware of just how horrific it was, and I understood what led to it, and I knew that it wasn't just the fault of the colonizers who came or the people who came to trade in slaves, but there were some people back here in Africa who actually contributed to it. Those were the people who sold out their brothers and their cousins. And now I'm starting to understand that, okay, so it's not as if those people came and packed my cousins and my great uncles and my great aunties, but there were actually some other people, some of my other great uncles here who sold their cousins, who sold my cousins, right, because of just chicken change. I'm starting to understand that, and many people are starting to, they're understanding that while they're thinking about it, and there's a little bit of guilt there. Now, it's not because I'm taking on the blame for it, because my own family was never involved in slave trade. Thank God I can actually say that. But even if my family line was never involved in it, it is still some sort of collective responsibility, right? And so when I think about it, there's a little bit of like guilt. There's just a teeny tiny bit of guilt, like we were not our brother's keepers. And so if there's a bit of distortion in the energy, I would guess that part of that is due to the underlying guilt there that we haven't come to terms with, or that we're unable to articulate. And that might, you know, when you do something wrong and then you meet the person you did something wrong to, and you feel you feel guilty about it, you won't be as free with them as you should be. And that person sometimes might think that you're angry with them or that you don't like them or whatever, but you know it's the guilt that is bothering you, right? They call it guilty conscience. I think there's a little bit of that there. I also think that because it's kind of like, you know how you could be raised in, well, you could have maybe like siblings or cousins or whatever, but you all are not raised in the same place, and so you come together at a certain point in time, but you guys are unable to relate because you know you come from the same place, but you know that you might as well be strangers to each other, and that just makes things awkward. It's worse than when you meet a total stranger that you know you don't really have much in common with. You're able to say, okay, this is a stranger, we can get to know each other, we can talk and all of that. It's usually very less awkward. But when it's somebody that you know you came from the same place and you should know a lot about each other but you don't, and you don't know where to start from, you don't know if you should be familiar with them or if you should just treat them as strangers, anyhow you try to do it, it's going to be awkward. I think that is a kind of just dynamic, or it is similar to the kind of dynamic that might be between Africans and African Americans. It's kind of like when I met one of my cousins for the first time as adults. I'd never met her ever in my entire life, and it was just horribly awkward between us. It was horribly awkward between us, and I tried to make conversation. It felt like she wasn't into the whole conversation thing, so I just, after some time, when it felt like I was the one pushing the conversation, I just backed off, because I'm not about to behave as if I'm forcing myself onto you. You either want to talk to me or not. It's kind of like that, I think. Again, this is all my theory. So I think that all those things might actually factor into the awkward dynamics between Africans and African Americans. But when it comes to looking down on African Americans, absolutely not. If anything, we are more likely to think that you guys are looking down on us. Somehow they might be thinking like we get to be here and our own ancestors weren't sold, but our ancestors were the ones who sold their ancestors into slavery, and they might have something in their hearts. I do not know. I don't think that's the case, but it's more likely that we think that way than that we think we're better than. Absolutely not. But like, what do we have to be better than them? What do we have? Like, except if we meet an individual, regardless of the person's race, and that person is just a bad person. Now, whether you're black or you're white or you're pink or polka dotted, you're just a bad person. Right, it has your race has nothing to do with that. But if it comes to just on the basis of your origin and your race, like, we're from the same place. Like, whenever I see an African American, I see a black person, something goes off home, and then I see somebody else and it's like, okay, stranger, maybe get to know them, maybe not get to know them, who now I can judge them based on, you know, the kind of person they are, the kind of interaction we have, blah 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 blah, all of that. That's fair and square. But you know, I would just like people to get this whole mentality out of their heads that Africans hate African Americans, Africans look down on African Americans. We don't, okay, we do not. If anything, you guys might hate us, you guys might actually, you know, look down on us, or you guys might hold grudges against us because of what some ancestors did to other ancestors. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it's true, people copy, but I already explained that people copy and it turns out being like that. Like, if I try to affects like an American accent, I end up sounding African American, and that's what happens with a lot of people that I know too. And it's probably because we have the same tongue. Like, we don't have the same tongue, but we kind of have the same tongue, if that makes sense. So thank you guys so much for watching this video with me till the very end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe right now and give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time.